Now, of course, the common objection that comes up here is, but Leo, open-mindedness, this is so dangerous because you're asking me to believe in all this crazy stuff, and then what am I going to do? I'm going to become a flat earther? I'm going to become some kind of cult follower? I'm going to turn into a religious fanatic or some new ager or some loose-minded person? But actually, these people are closed-minded. They're not open-minded people. A flat earther is not an open-minded person. He's a closed-minded person. A cult follower is not an open-minded person, it's a closed-minded person. Think of examples from history of closed-minded people. Flat earthers, religious fundamentalists, cult leaders, racists, white supremacists, bigots, homophobes, transphobes, nationalists, Nazis, Hitler, the Spanish Inquisition, those who killed Jesus, anti-vaxxers, climate change deniers, conspiracy theorists, libertarians, right-wingers, red pillars, all sorts of bad scientists, ignorant parents, terrorists. These were not open-minded people. These are closed-minded people. Do you want to be like these people? Or do you want to be open-minded? Open-mindedness, this is the mistake people make, is they think that open-mindedness means that now I'm going to start believing in stupid things. No. Believing in stupid things is closed-mindedness. See? If you're open-minded, you don't need to believe in anything very strongly because you're willing to just explore the entire intellectual landscape in a detached fashion, coolly, without much bias or prejudice. You're willing to explore stuff. And then what happens is that the truth can hit you. Whereas if you lack closed-mindedness, what happens is that you find the first one or two beliefs or worldviews that you resonate with, you latch onto them, you start to believe in them, you close your mind around them, and then that's it. You're stuck for the rest of your life. And the truth is never able to hit you. Open-mindedness really is it means mental flexibility. It means detachment and intellectual fearlessness. Closed-mindedness is generated by fear, attachment, the desire for power, survival, and the ego mind. Closed-mindedness comes from a certain agenda that your mind has, whereas open-mindedness is free of agenda. You're just willing to explore reality without needing it to be any particular way. And it's really only through that process that you'll ever arrive at truth. Notice that the mind has an inertia to it. It accretes over time like a snowball rolling down a hill. It adds more and more mass. It becomes bigger, and it develops a sort of momentum of its own. And then what happens is that once the mind is sufficiently big enough, it struggles to change itself. It's very difficult for the mind to then change itself fundamentally. The mind can make changes on the periphery of the snowball, but the very core of the snowball is so densely packed and it's so integral to the structure of the snowball that it's very difficult to penetrate through to it and to change the insides of it. I suggest that this is what has happened with your mind. It took the first 20 years of your life or so to build up this snowball, which was built up in a certain culture that you grew up in. It was really just an accretion of cultural beliefs and opinions and assumptions. You accreted all of those, and then that formed the core of your mind. And then from age 20 onwards, you're basically living your life rolling downhill, this massive inertia. And now, when it comes to really using your mind to be able to explore reality, you can't do it because the mind struggles to change itself. Think of open-mindedness as the mind's willingness to change itself. The mind's willingness to explore new ways that it could be, that it could see the world. A closed mind doesn't want to explore new ways to change itself. It doesn't want to see the world in new ways. It's focused rather on entrenching and defending its existing ways of seeing the world, because your life has actually been built upon the ways in which you see the world. You see, for example, your career or your marriage or your relationship with your children or your relationship to business or to politics or to science or to your religion or to your church. All of these relationships, these are real world relations. This is not philosophy. Now, we're talking about real world relationships and situations that you have upon which hinge your ability to earn money, to have sex, to have positive emotions, to have friends, and so forth. All of these things hinge upon your worldview. You see? So when we're talking about changing worldviews, we're not just talking about armchair philosophy, like we're sitting somewhere having a purely hypothetical discussion about something. No. We mean that if we change your worldviews sufficiently enough, we're going to change all those very real, tangible aspects of your life. You might no longer be able to live in the same country anymore. You may no longer be able to live in the same house with the same people. You may no longer be able to be married to the same spouse that you used to be, because now your worldview has changed so much that you couldn't live with yourself to live with the same people in the same country, in the same house, going to the same job, doing the same things that you did. See? So of course people are very resistant to changing their worldviews, because they fear what this new worldview, what kind of repercussions it would have for their real life. And they're attached to their real life. You're attached to your friends, to your spouse, to your children, to your job, to your house, to your country, to your religion, to all this stuff. And of course, changing all that stuff is uncomfortable, and changing your mind is uncomfortable. Admitting you're wrong is uncomfortable. Admitting that you've wasted 10 or 20 years of your life going to church, praying to some false god, that's uncomfortable. Admitting that you've invested 20 years into science, studying some sort of scientific field which is fundamentally flawed, based upon flawed metaphysical or epistemic assumptions, that's very painful and uncomfortable. And you don't know where that will place you in the future. You don't know. You're going to have to quit your job, and then what? What are you going to do? You don't know. How are you going to support your family? How are you going to feed your kids? You don't know. So you see, all of this seems like just philosophy, but it's actually much, much more serious. It's intimately tied with your survival.